Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Championship Leadership Podcast. We got CHRIS Gingrich here with us out of East Tennessee. Welcome, Chris, and thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite and you having me. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. So the first question I like to ask to get the conversation started is championship leadership is the name of the podcast. What comes to mind for you? What does championship leadership mean to you when you hear that?
Yeah, I think leadership leading by example, leadership by example. So, if you're going to have your athletes, your children, people who are working under you or with you doing something, I think that, you set the example, you set the bar for what you expect or what you want, to happen. So yeah, I 100% believe that you can't ask other people to do something or to help you do something if you're not able to either do it or even supersede that expectation as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. And I love always hearing the different definitions because I've done a good number of these episodes now and usually get a different answer. So I love it.
nice.
Let's just hear a little bit more about you and kind of the path that you've been on in your life and how that's brought you to where you are today and what you're up to today. Maybe you could kind of give us a little view into who CHRIS Gingrich is.
Yeah. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina to my father who was active duty military for 20 years, retired military, and my mom, and she worked various jobs. Being a military wife, you don't have a whole lot of stability. So, we're moving around a lot and that sort of thing. So I finished up high school in Charleston or just outside Charleston. And I played soccer growing up, really, really active in sports, and soccer just kind of stuck. And I played soccer in college for a little bit. Dropped that after my freshman year, just didn't have my head on right. I was really young, I didn't have my priorities straight, and decided to drop out and kind of work and find my niche and, see what path I was going to take. And I continued to play soccer throughout, worked a bunch of different jobs, just trying to find what I liked, what interests me. And like I said, continued to play soccer. And then finally, it was about that time to kind of delayed the inevitable long enough, and kind of knew I was going to go in the military and kind of follow my dad's footsteps. So I joined the military in 2001. So I was like 26 at the time, I think.
Yeah.
So fairly late. But I went to boot camp in Chicago for the Navy. And during that time were the attacks on 9/11 on the World Trade Center. So huge blow to our nation for sure. And found out that from there I was going to be serving with the Marines. So for those of you who don't know, that the Marine Corps falls under the Department of the Navy, and use Navy medical personnel and religious personnel to serve with the Marines. So I was a corpsman and went right to the Marines after I graduated my corpsman school. And was in Iraq less than 10 months later.
Wow.
So so that kind of kicked off my career in the military. Was the Marines, and then right on to Iraq. So so I did a tour in Iraq for a while, and then when I came back, decided that I wanted to kind of push myself and further myself mentally and physically a little bit more, and decided to go to Navy dive school, where I graduated there as a diving medical technician. So I had the ground land medical training, and then now I have the diving medical training, and that just kind of opened up the doors for special operations and for me to serve with the special operations communities. So I graduated and went right to Navy EOD, and worked with the EOD in planning mines and bombs and that sort of thing. And then from there, went to Naval Special Warfare Development Group in Virginia Beach, and I spent 6, almost 7 years there, and did 4 more combat deployments to Afghanistan with the SEAL teams there. Yeah. And then throughout that time, a whole lot of stuff went on within that time, obviously, but got married, got divorced. I have an 8-year-old son now, which, obviously I would never trade, any of that for the world.
Yeah.
And I got out soon after that. I went to BUDS. I became a BUDS instructor. And so I taught diving medicine to second phase of BUDS, to BUDS students. And so I was a corpsman for the students, and then I taught dive medicine and helped with all the phase PT and the diving and all that stuff. So, and then I got out not too long after that, and immediately moved here to Tennessee, which is where my son lives with his mom. And it's kind of a no-brainer. Moved here.
Yeah.
Had no idea what to expect. I really hadn't ever been here I'd never really visited the area, just to kind of pick him up or to visit him. And then that was kind of it. And so it was kind of a little bit of a culture shock coming from, large cities like Charleston and Virginia Beach and San Diego and that sort of thing. So had a really, really hard time finding another job or employment, and decided to go back to school. So now I'm attending East Tennessee State University, full-time student there. I work part-time and kind of dabble in the entrepreneurship of the Stoic Development piece and mindset training and some physical training as well. So
tell me more about the Stoic Development.
Sure. So the Stoic Development thing kind of came up by accident, really. So I'm studying kinesiology here at East Tennessee State, and one of my professors was also the head trainer for the football team here at the school. Okay. And so throughout the semester, we kind of got to talking a little bit, and I kind of told him, my background, and then I was familiar with a lot of the stuff that he was teaching, and he brought me into the training room and introduced me to some of the other trainers, who then introduced me to the sports doctor at school, who then introduced me to some of the sport coaches at the school as well. So one in particular was the baseball coach, Coach Panucci, and we hit it off really, really well, really quick. And he's really interested in the way that, special forces train, and how that all kind of equals or correlates, with life, with training, with deployments and all of that stuff. So we got to talking, and he asked me to come out and talk to the team, about my training and how that correlates to life, and, now getting out of the military and now being a full-time student. And so I talked to them for, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes one afternoon, and then had a lot of really good positive feedback. And the coach and the guys on the team asked me to come back, and started talking to them every week after that, and putting them through some PT and some team building, teamwork type stuff. And just kind of when you're in college, you think that everything revolves around that, and it's so much bigger. And we know this now, being older, that there's so much more to playing sports in school and that kind of thing. And so just kind of reiterated to them about teamwork and professionalism, and how all of this stuff that you learn here will carry on to life, into relationships, and to employment, and job opportunities and things like that. So yeah, that kind of led into the Stoic Development. And then I had other people kind of ask me, like, hey, aren't you helping out with the baseball team, and aren't you doing this and that? And then one of the local high school coaches kind of got wind, and he asked me to come talk to the team as well. And so I started talking to one of the local high school baseball teams as well. And so it just kind of blossomed from nothing, I guess, or, not nothing, but I didn't really expect anything more to come about it, Right. And I've had a great time talking to the guys, and I think it's a little therapeutic for me to kind of talk about a little bit of it as well. So yeah,
you bet. So where'd the name come from?
Oh man.
I mean, obviously
So
stoicism and,
yeah. So after I got out of the military, I kind of fell into this really deep kind of dark hole, depression, suicidal, thoughts and things like that. And,
mhm.
really lost, kind of my identity,
Yeah.
and, I had all these people relying on me, for their medical treatment and training and, almost well-being. And, I went from being really dependent upon, um, with these guys that I worked with really, really closely and all of them really, really good friends, to now in a place where I don't know anybody. No one knows what I did. No one knows where I came from or, my background, any of it at all. And, I kind of, again, fell into this like really deep, dark place. And, kind of as a last resort, I started, kind of reading a little bit about stoicism and, uh, and found out that it wasn't what I thought it was, I think the name just stoicism and stoic is just a very kind of almost powerful word.
Yeah.
I think it gets misunderstood and misconstrued a lot too. And as I got to reading, I got to kind of maybe put my own spin or maybe interpretation on it, which is that, control the things you can control in life and in the world and things that you have going on, and let go of the things that you can't. And the things that you
Hmm.
can't control, you got to make the best of it. You got to adapt, again, back to the military,
Yeah.
adapt, overcome, and find ways to either accept it, deal with it, and move on, or even use it as a positive, turn a negative into a positive and use that. So, so that, the stoic development, I feel like, no one's perfect. No one's ever perfect. And the stoic development is just that. It's you developing, or, me developing or helping other people to develop, a specific mindset or an attitude or, a well-being. And so that's kind of how it came.
Cool. Yeah. Did you ever get into Ryan Halliday's stuff?
No, I've heard of him, but I haven't yet gotten into
Okay.
reading. Yeah.
You need to, you sh- obstacle is the way, and ego is the enemy, and are two great books by him.
Okay.
Obviously, really inspired by stoicism and great listens. I've just actually recently revisit them probably once or twice a year.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Awesome. So
Yeah. And I think
recommend
it's a
that.
great reminder too, to, it kind of keeps you a little grounded, when things, especially like the way things are going on right now in the world, and,
Yeah.
with COVID and everything else that, kind of helps bring you back and kind of, get your footing back or gets you planted back to where you need to be, I guess. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So you Bud's instructor, when were you there?
Oh gosh. I think it was like 14, 15, 16.
Do you know Mark James? He's
Yeah.
an
Yeah. I
instructor.
know Mark really well. Yeah. We
Okay.
trained a lot together. Yeah. I love Mark. Yeah.
He's a great guy. I don't know him
Absolutely.
super well, but he was on the podcast. Got to know him a little bit. I went out to SEAL Fit Kokoro. I went through it and then I came back and supported. And so I got to know him a little bit because he was an instructor there. And
Yeah. Mark's a
that's how I
great
brought him onto
guy.
the podcast. He's a good
Great,
dude.
great guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. I mean, he's a beast. He's a
Yeah,
beast.
he is a beast. But
Yeah.
like you said, he's just a good dude. So
Yeah. So like,
cool. Small world, man.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, who are some of the championship leaders, coaches, mentors that have impacted you? And really, it's always less about who they are, but more about like, what is it about them, characteristics, maybe that you've also taken to help mold who you are as a leader.
Yeah, sure. I think it's funny. You brought up Mark James, and I off the bat, I would say Mark is probably one of those guys.
Yeah.
I worked with Mark, and then we also trained together. We cycled a lot together.
Okay.
We'd run the O course together and time each other. And,
That's awesome.
it wasn't always a competition, but, when you're with guys in that specific mindset and,
Totally.
in that area, it's kind of like, all right, he did it in this. All right, I got it. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
good job. And then, you know, deep down you're like, oh, okay, I got this
Absolutely.
time. I gotta that kind of thing. And Mark's one of those guys that I would say, just as an instructor, as an athlete, as a person, and I know his family, you know, semi well,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, he's just a solid guy, and I think he portrays a lot of what he does and what he says, you know, in overall, you know, with
Yeah.
students. He takes the time out, you know. I think I think a lot of times people misunderstand instructors who maybe aren't a part of the military or haven't gone through it, that they think that they're always this, you know, this headstrong, just like no holds barred kind of just, you know, assholes, you know, even. And,
Yeah.
you know, Mark isn't one of those guys. I mean, Mark is stern, but he's super fair. And, but if you have questions, he's one of those guys that will absolutely take time out to sit down with you and say, hey, this is how it is. This is what, you know, you know, the things, this is how the things go. And if you don't get it, then he'll sit there and figure out another way to explain it or to break it down for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say Mark is definitely one of those guys in recent years. Probably my high school soccer coach, I think, is one of those guys too, that, you know, again, set the example, set the bar for what is expected. And, you know, you don't always have to be the nice guy. And again, this might be, and this is maybe going the opposite of Mark, where you have this person, you have this coach that, you know, is very like, you know, headstrong and like get it done and, you know, that kind of thing. And we're running suicides and running laps faster and like, you know, faster and faster and, you know, that kind of thing. And, but, you know, we didn't know at the time that it paid dividends in the end. You know, when you're in extra time playing, you know, that soccer game in overtime, you know, you're playing an extra 30 minutes on top of the 90 minutes that you already played, you know, those laps and that extra conditioning is going to pay off in those times. And, you know, at the time you don't realize it and you hate every minute of it. And, you know, you hate the coach for it, but again, at the time,
yeah, right.
You know, it pays off and there's a method to the madness as we say. So
yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, I appreciate you letting us in on that, and thank you.
Sure.
What's the vision for you? Like, I know you're going back to school.
Yeah.
Kind of lost your identity there, like you said, a little bit, and kind of finding your way again. And you know, you got the Stoic Development that's kind of turned into something that you maybe didn't see happening, but kind of going with that too. Right. What championship leaders, I think they have great vision and courage to take action on it. Like, what do you see as the path for you over the next, let's say, even 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years. Definitely graduate with my degree in kinesiology and possibly maybe master's or even some follow-on education in sports psychology.
Okay.
Which, again, I really didn't think too much about until the last year when I got into this mindset. And,
yeah, right.
You know, speaking, the speaking stuff. And so, yeah, so I'm really, really interested right now in sports psychology and in mindset psychology and that kind of thing. And so definitely those two for sure. And then, you know, I'd love to work with collegiate or even pro athletes in any of that realm, in the sports psychology, in the kinesiology, and maybe even possibly have my own business in where I can incorporate the two.
Yeah.
You know, with you know, professional athletes or you know, collegiate athletes that want to go on to the next level. So,
right.
Yeah, that's definitely like within my 4 or 5 year plan for sure.
We talked a little bit about ultra running. You got some races.
I do. Yeah. I'm training right now for the Georgia Jewel 50 miler in September. So my birthday's in late September. And so every year I try to do, you know, an ultra around that time, just to,
very cool, you
know, just as like a little, hey, I'm still alive. I still got it. I can still move. And, you know, it gets a little more painful each year, but, but, you know, as long as I'm still, you know, able to run, I'd still love to do it. And then I have my first 100 miler in November.
Okay.
So, I'm doing the Pinhoti 100 in Alabama.
Yeah, the 100 mile is a beast. It is it's a game changer. I ran one. It took me 3 attempts to learn, but I kind of like just jumped into ultra running. That was my first. I was like, I'm going to do a 100 miler,
Wow.
and it was a journey, but it was
Yeah.
awesome. You know, it's awesome when it's done. It sucks while you're doing it, and
Right.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just kind of too dumb to quit doing them. So
Well, I think there's got to be a level of maybe not insanity, but maybe missing a few,
yeah,
cells up there for people to go run 100 miles
for
too, or
sure.
even more. So,
For sure.
um,
But, you know, like I said, the experiences and the lessons that you get, and especially in doing what you're doing, um, you know, it's just that next level of like, hey, when you're in front of somebody and you're pushing them, and, you know, it's kind of like at Buds, right? All the Buds instructors, a lot of them are, you know, they are SEALs and they've been
right,
through it. So they can tell you to do whatever, because you know, that they've been there, they've done it. Right.
right, exactly.
So I think that's huge, especially in the space that you're in. So that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Thanks.
uh, what, what's like a turning point or critical moment in your life? Kind of that fork in the road moment. You know,
Oh
I think
man.
we have a lot of them, right? But, and obviously you made the decision that you did because you are where you are because of it. But, you
Right.
know, had you not, you could be in a very different place in this world. You gotta, do you have one that specifically kind of comes to mind right away?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and not to be Debbie Downer or anything like that, but, with this championship, mindset, championship podcast. But I think, coming out of the military, I think that was really like my biggest fork where
Yeah.
I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to kind of figure my place in the world, really. You know what I mean? Like I had a schedule all the time, every day. I knew I had to be to work at a certain time. I knew that my daily schedule was like, I would go and I'd run or work out or something in the morning from, 7:30 to 9, and then I'd change, and then we'd start work, and then, go on with our business, whatever it might be, diving, jumping,
Right.
whatever. I was, going from 0 to 60 every day, like,
Yeah.
all the time, just,
Yeah.
and then I got out, and that just like, it came to a halt, and I I didn't know, I didn't know how to adapt at the time. I didn't know how to fix it or change it or figure it out. And, when you get out, I think a lot of people, you kind of, guys come and go all the time in the military. And, it was hard for me to kind of fall back and rely on those guys that were still in, because they're still doing that job. They, are doing that 60 mile an hour, 60 to 100, 0 to 100 mile an hour type thing every day.
Yeah.
And now I'm out, and it's like, man, I'm sure they don't have time to talk to me about this. And, they're still active. And, so it was just really tough. Again, I had a son that was living in a different state with his mom, and I wasn't able to see him too often. And then I moved here, didn't know anybody, don't know the area very well. I couldn't find a job, and especially with my background, being in the medical field, 5 deployments, doing, a lot of high speed, kind of high level stuff. And,
Yeah.
and then coming out thinking like, oh, I have all this training, I have all this knowledge and background and experience, so it'd probably be easy for me to get a job out.
Yeah.
And it was so tough. It was so difficult. And and then I kind of fell into this depression and suicidal thoughts and all this stuff. And fortunately, my family and I have a lot of really good friends that you know that are all away in different states and other places, but we're still there to support me and help me out. And so I reluctantly got some help, and then eventually got to the VA and got some help and that kind of thing. So and now I'm like, I'm reading the Stoicism. I'm trying to make these positive changes and help other people. And in turn, again, like I said, it's therapeutic for me too, to kind of talk about a lot of this stuff too. And let people know that, regardless of how dark and gloomy it is at times, that you can turn it around. You've got to change the way you think about it. You can't, it's easy for me to sit at home and be like, I don't know anybody here. I don't have any place to go. I go to school and that's it. But you've got to want to change. You've got to want to be better than yesterday or, last week or whatever it is. And I think that along with my background and, having this mindset from the military, that I was like, what am I doing? I'm way better than this. I'm smarter than this. I have a really good head on my shoulders. I know that I can do something better. This is just, again, that fork or that, that test, if you will, whether you're spiritual or not, there's those tests that come along in your life when you least expect it. And that was one of them. And it really kind of helped me refocus my life, my mind, and change, and want to change it and be better. And, and then want to look back and be like, what, this is where I was. And, a year and a half ago, I was suicidal. And, a year later, I'm a full-time student. I'm a junior now. I have this kind of small business thing that I'm working on. I'm talking to people about being more positive and, maybe taking their athleticism and their, abilities to the next level. And, and I can help and I can contribute. And that's a lot of what it is for me right now. So, it's just a good reinforcement looking back at where I came from, a year and a half ago to now. So,
is there a moment in there where it seemed like there's kind of that moment that were you able to turn it around, or was it a little bit more of just kind of a gradual?
I can almost remember a specific time when I was sitting at home and I was like, I hadn't been running. I had stopped running. I'd been, in doing ultras for the last, 7 years, I guess now. And over the last 4, maybe right before I got out, I was really starting to kind of dedicate more time and effort to it. And so I hadn't been running for a long time and was just kind of like, I feel like crap. I'm in this place, and finally, I was at home one day and I was like, I'm going to go run, and whether I like it, I don't like it, whether I, turn around at 1 mile and come home, I'm going to shoot for I'm going to shoot for 3 miles. I'm going to get it done. If I turn around 3 miles, fine. At least when I went out there and did it. And I think that kind of sparked that drive, that I've always had, working with special operations and the Marines, and being that guy that guys rely on, that, not that I can't show any emotion, but I have to be strong for other people and myself, and to think clear and all these things. So, I just got to refocus on those things and was like, yeah, I'm going to go do this. And I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm over it. I'm going to do something about it. And, I went out for a run, and, runs, I'm sure, are very therapeutic at times. And, sure. And I think that's what did it. And I came home and I felt really good about my run. And, I came home and decided that from then on, I was going to start to try to change it around. And I knew it was going to be easy. I may fall back. It's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, or, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And, but that happens. That's life. And,
right.
That's the way it was, before all this stuff. And it's not just because of this. That's just the way life is. And, you adapt and overcome and make the best of it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Sure.
It's, it's important. It's, I haven't necessarily been there myself, but I know that it's a hard place to get out of when you're in it. Right. and you don't want to do all the things that you need, that you should do to help yourself get out of it. Like you said, like reaching out to people, like you're like, I don't want to burden them. I don't want to call them. They're too busy, whatever, like all these excuses why you shouldn't, but that's like the thing that really is going to help you to get through those moments.
Right.
And,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's so hard, but so it's important for people to hear, that might be going through that right now, to hear you tell that story. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, I want to respect your time here today. And, I messed up and we were supposed to do this an hour before we did, and off the ball there. So details
totally
definitely
good, man.
And I
no
missed
worries.
the
No
mark
worries
on that one. So appreciate your grace on that.
Absolutely.
What is, like, if there was one or two things that you could leave with the listeners today, that if they implemented today would help them move their life forward, like what would that be?
Oh man, it's a good question. I think the first thing is that you have to set a goal and then be mindful and aware of that goal every day. If you want to go back to school, if you want to, run a race or run a 5K or whatever it is, I think it's, dedicate yourself, like immerse yourself in all of it, read stuff on the internet about it, talk to friends about it, talk to other people about it, follow some social media stuff about, whatever it is that you're interested in, and immerse yourself. And I think for me anyway, that helps to motivate me when I see other people, go from like the, couch to 5K, or, they're very sedentary throughout their lives, and now they're doing all these great things and doing these positive things. So I think find something that you're passionate about, and then, or even if you're contemplating, starting something, immerse yourself in that, get up early and read and research and talk to people, and go to races and volunteer and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. What are a few ways that we can follow you and what you got going on? Stoic Development and everything else in your life.
So I've Instagram. So I've got the Stoic Development. It's Stoic_development, where you can see me doing some of the coaching and the mindset stuff, and I throw some motivational stuff on there every once in a while, based on whether it was stuff in the military or life, or just something maybe I'm going through that day that I just want to share with other people. I have a personal page. It's private, but you're welcome to shoot me an invite or thing, and I'll open it up to you. But it's CMGING, and there's my personal stuff is just that. It's just me running, some ultra running stuff, and life, being a dad and in school and
Awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much. It's been great.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Nate. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.